Hi, and welcome to The Curling Show, the podcast that brings you interviews with the sport's top athletes and the people who shape the game. Brought to you by Local 59 and their line of steel furniture. See it at local59.com. I'm Dean Gemmell, and in this edition we spoke to Pierre Charette at the fabulous Sinbad Hotel in Gander about an hour before his team played their third game in the Don Bartlett Classic. All right, hey, let's talk about this event right now. I looked in the standings so far, and you beat the nose but lost to Glenn Howard. Looks like you and Glenn are the teams that come out of your pool. How do you feel so far about how you guys are playing?
We're playing pretty good. The ice is a little tricky, and the score doesn't indicate our game yesterday. We had I was just trying to pick out a rock yesterday in the second end for three, just to go up 3-0 actually. And halfway down the shot is made, and so we're yelling to sweep because you just have to pick it out. And we actually fell in the end, and we actually touched it, but it just went sideways 6 inches with peel weight. So that's not much on a rock. The difference between scoring 3 and just 1.
Right.
Bad break right off the bat. And then we got another one where we tried to double and it looked good again. And it's just the ice is like, the rock's coming down like snowflakes. It's going left, going right, on hit. Which is really weird.
Well, it's a lot of runs in the ice.
Yeah, there's some runs. Like before the game, he must have done 12 passes with the shaver, and I think he left some marks in there.
Oh, sure.
So it's, it was just, and the rocks, like even Glenn changed rocks 3 times during the game. It was just, it was mind-boggling there a little. So.
Well, I don't want to give them a bunch of bad press for the event, but that doesn't sound all that great.
No. It's weird because we were watching the other games, like Martin's game, and the girls playing on sheet A, and it looks like it was fantastic. They're making every freeze, they're making everything, and
right.
We had a hard time. Like even Glenn, one end, they're just throwing like a light takeout. It looks fine and everything. In the last 10 feet, it follows half a rock, and they ended up almost rolling out. It's just you don't know what to do, and then you have the guys sweep, and then you miss the shot, and the guys are looking at you. What the hell happened? So it's been a little screwy, but hopefully we'll get it going today. It doesn't work like 2 in each pool. It's just it's the best 8 out of 18.
Oh, okay, because they only have 18 in the event this year.
Yeah,
right? I wondered about that. So they still had it on the site as 2 in each pool, which didn't make sense to me. So
no, Brewster's in our pool too, and they're playing great. We can't afford to lose the 2 teams we're going to play today, and then hopefully we can beat Brewster in the last game and make the playoffs. So.
Let's talk about your season so far. You guys have had a pretty good start. A second place finish in Vernon where you lost to Bob Ursually. You stole an extra end. You beat Brian Cochran in the RCMP Open on the Valley Tour. And then you lost in the semis last weekend on that tour. So you guys must be feeling pretty good about your season so far.
Yes, we are. We're back together after playing 2 years with Guy, Martin, and I, and Marco, and we picked up Phil LeMay to play with us. He used to play junior with Marco and Michel when they won the Canadian Juniors in '93. Mm-hmm. And he hasn't curled in about 3 years, so it takes a little bit for him to get back into it,
Right.
But I've got a great sweeping team, and we still have a little bit of kinks to work out. We're not great on placing the rocks where we want yet, but as far as hitting is concerned, we're a really good hitting team, and we played awesome in Vernon. Martin would just shut the lights out. Like we never played more than 8 ends in any of the games.
Right.
Like they had the stats. How many games did you win when you're 3 up coming home, 2 up, 1 up? Those new stats, and we're all 0-0 because we never played more than 8.
Even in the final.
Even in the final, exactly. And the final was about a game exactly like it was against Howard yesterday, where we missed a couple of easy doubles that we made all weekend. We weren't that sharp in the final, and a couple of circumstances there too. Like we tried to change our flight with Air Canada, and they wouldn't change it unless we went to the airport. And I had to go to the airport at 4:30 in the morning to change our flights before the semis.
That's the glamour of life on the tour, is it?
Exactly, yeah. We couldn't do it over the phone. We had to go in person.
Hey, what about your team last year with Guy Hemming? It just never seemed to gel. What went wrong?
Well, I don't know. It's just I think it's just a question of we got along so good off the ice and everything, and everybody wanted to work, and that's why we stayed together a second year. The first year was kind of rough too, but we had a decent finish. We qualified for the Tour Championship and lost the provincial final. But then last year it was just awful. We just could not do anything, and not in the spiels, not anywhere. We just couldn't get it going. I think there's a couple of things. I think Martin's a skip. I don't think he can play anywhere else. He just wants to throw that last rock, and he was just not comfortable playing third. And Guy always felt that he wasn't playing very well, so he was second-guessing himself. Sometimes he had Martin throw last rock. We tried that.
Yeah, I think you guys tried just about every possible combination, didn't you?
Exactly. And it's very simple. It's just, sometimes it's not the who you put together. It's to find the chemistry,
Right.
I think Dale was getting a little stale of playing lead, and, so everybody's patience was kind of short, and so it put a lot of pressure on everyone, and I don't know, it just didn't work. I mean, sometimes when people, those 2 years, it was 2 great years we had, people would ask me, how come it works? These guys have been around and you never won anything. How come? I said, I don't know why, and I don't want to know why. All I know is we win.
Right.
It's just a question of being at the right place at the right time, I guess.
Hey, let me ask you a different question about the WCT purses. You're on the WCT board and the Players Association. What about the purses in the first few events where it's been not half for the runner-up? Like last weekend, Martin got 16 grand and Harris got 11. In the women's, Jen Hanna got 14 grand and Jan Betker got 11 grand for finishing second. I see in this event it's 20 and 10 in the finals. It seems a little wimpy to me, to be honest, that way. And you know why I think? Because I think curling fans or sports fans think of like the winner's purse. They can't recognize the total purse. So I think when the winner's purse is higher, it's better for the game. And then the other thing is, I think if someone says, this shot's worth 10 grand versus this shot worth being 3 grand, makes a big difference for fans. Now, I don't think it's going to change the curling because I think everybody wants to win if they're playing for $5. But what do you think about those purse setups?
I'm not a big fan of 20 and 10. It's cost so much, Dean, to travel and stuff that the thing in the spiel is to have good qualifying money. Because, not everybody thinks like Kevin Martin. And you ask Glenn Howard or even Medaw, and he'll tell you what's most important is the qualifying money. Because, when you have a decent team, you expect to qualify. So you say, like in Ottawa last week, we paid $1,100 to play, and we got $2 grand for qualifying.
Right.
I mean, that's a joke.
That was going to be my question was, is it because they keep the purses like that so you keep the entries up so that people do feel like they got a chance to at least break even in any event, I guess, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, then you get nobody from out of town.
Right.
Like here, they got 18 teams this year because Air Canada, the only one that flies here now, that it would cost us like $800 to fly here, so a lot of teams just passed.
Sure. Well, yeah, you got to go to the end of the world to get there. So.
Yeah. In this event, actually, what I would do is I would give probably like 16 to the winner, and I'd make every round-robin game worth something. So at least the local teams that are not going to make it.
Right.
If they beat each other out and stuff, well, they might make $600 or $800 or something, and it pays their entry. And if they drove from St. John's, then it's not the end of the world,
Right. That's actually a good thought.
I mean, when you look at golf, and they have the Chrysler or the Buick Classic.
Right.
They don't put first prize $1.08 million. They put total prize $4 million.
Right.
I don't think people are watching it 1 week because the winner gets $760 or the week after he gets $1 million. I don't think that makes any difference. It's just looking at who's playing in the field.
Fair point.
And I think in curling it's the same. It's who you get in the field. Like in a field like this, there's only 18 teams, but geez, you got Howard, you got Medaw, you got 2 teams from Scotland that are going to be Olympic trials. You got, in the Olympics, and you got Martin, and you got Adams. There's only 18 teams, but you got some really good teams. But there's no middle teams here. Like there's no teams that are up and coming that are, that are really knocking at the door. It's just, you got Gushu here. That's I put in the good teams now.
Right.
So
that's why I asked the question, Pierre, because you changed my point of view on that right there. Because I was thinking the purses ideas are bad, but you just changed my point of view on it.
No, but it's important. Like if we want young teams, the ones that don't have any sponsorship, let's say to pay up the $1,000 to play here.
Right.
Like in the girls section, they only have 4 teams because they're just starting it up and whatever. So they made a double round robin, and they get $333 a win. Okay, so if a team finishes, let's say 3-3 and doesn't make the final, they still get $1,000.
Right.
So if they do that in the men, I think they get some teams out here.
Right.
More.
That's a tough place to get people to go. I mean, Gander, Newfoundland. So.
Yes, it is. Like we flew to Deer Lake, which is 3 hours away. So we got our tickets with CanJet at about like $395 all included. But it was a 3-hour drive, and we were lucky. It was a nice day and nice and sunny to drive and everything. So. Right. But, it could have been up here. It could have been snowing. It could have been anything.
You're talking about young guys and getting young curlers in the game. I remember when you guys started playing, in '88, I was just new in Quebec, and you guys were still relatively new, and it looked like there was just a bunch of guys from Buckingham who were good athletes who started to curl. How did you guys get into the game back then?
That's exactly what you said, though. Like, the guys from Buckingham started, we were all out of juniors.
Y'all look the same too. You're all big guys and looked exactly the same.
Well, the guys from Buckingham, like we lost our arena burnt down. Like my last year playing junior, so the year after we played all our games on the road. But the other guys were after that year they started curling. I didn't want to. My wife was curling, but I started like 5 years later when I was 26. I didn't want to curl.
Uh-huh.
And then, being a golf pro, when I decided to play, I threw rocks every day for a couple of seasons. And obviously, if you have time to put into the game and you got a little bit of talent, it'll give you a better chance than the guy that had to work 8 to 5 days a week. I was on the ice every day the first year.
What do you think curling can do to attract more of the best young athletes? I think sometimes people don't think it's as athletic as it is, and I wonder if we're doing enough to get the best young athletes to consider the game.
Well, like in Quebec, they have a good program called Sport Études.
Mm-hmm.
And it relates to a lot of sports. Like my son for golf, for example. Like I had a house on the golf course since he was born almost, and he didn't want to golf, or he just because a lot of his friends didn't want to golf and stuff. So finally, one year I took him to the Canadian Open. We watched Tiger play and all this, and he said, "Well, geez, I'd like to play," So I taught him a little bit, and then they had this. He was 16, and they had this program in Quebec called Sport Études, where they go to school in the morning and then they do their sport in the afternoon, all year round. So we have one for curling. So
that's good.
Kids are on the ice every day, in the winter months.
Wow.
So obviously, and they compete in weekends and stuff. So that's where the Marie-France Larouche comes out of and stuff like that.
That's great.
There's some really good young players out there, or young ones. But I mean, how it is, because like Gushu's team, when they graduate from university, then it was hard for them to stick together. They have to commit to staying in St. John's, let's say, and play together, and it's not easy,
Right.
It's a team thing, and it's in Quebec the talent was pretty limited when it comes to guys. We have to, it is like in my region. Let's say you don't get along with the only 3-4 guys that are really competitive, then you.
Well, you guys always had 8 guys you shuffled among.
Yeah, well, it was more like if you count Louis and Dan who are playing with Guy now,
right?
Probably like 6.
Right. So you're always a couple
short. But I always
short.
like the odd guy out for the first 4 or 5 years I curled. So I had to prove to them that I was good enough. So
right.
I was playing with teams that were half the talent, but then you play a few good games against them, and then they'd see it, and then they have a bad year and they do like everybody else. They just kick somebody off.
Well, talking about all the team shovels, let's talk about you for a sec. You got it. I think your reputation is great shooter, great competitor, great thinker about the game, tough guy to play with. Do you think that's a fair assessment? Are you a tough guy to play with?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the guys that played with me, but I would think so. I think the way I would describe myself wouldn't be what you said. I don't think I'm the greatest talent. I just think that the guys I play with, I usually get the best out of them.
Right.
That's what.
I think that's probably true.
That's what guys have played with me have said after. They said and guys will say, like Martin will say, well, Pierre, he's not any younger, but he still makes a lot of shots, and I'll miss some, but I still make my fair share of shots. But normally, I don't let us beat ourselves, and that's what we did, like in the game yesterday, and a couple of times. And that's what we have to avoid, and we have to, stick together and nobody misses on purpose, and nobody makes a bad call on purpose. So as long as the guys are aware of that, and we're not going to go, a whole season and lose 5 games. I mean, it's not going to happen. It's
right.
Especially with a 4-rock rule and everything. It's a great equalizer, and a lot of teams they know how to play it now, and it's not too often you're going to beat somebody on strategy alone.
Right. Not at that level. So.
Right. Hard to play with if you say that I don't let anybody. Get away with anything. Yeah, you could say that, but it's funny. I'm 50 now, and every year I've had some good players that want to play with me. So otherwise, I wouldn't be curling anymore.
I was thinking before I called you that you're about the last guy I see still playing from when I was playing in Quebec who's still around. To be honest, I figured you were either really old or I was pretty young when we started out there. So I think it was a combination of both. Right. Hey, give me the inside Ottawa scoop on this Rachel Holman team. I mean, this young girls team that beat all the women in the tour thing, and they gave you guys a good run. And what, they're like 9? I mean, how old are these kids?
I think the back end is 15.
Uh-huh.
And the front end is 16. They've been playing together for 5 years.
Wow.
And they're just incredible. I mean, that quarterfinal game, they won the toss, and they didn't make a mistake. Not single. There was just singles, and we were tied up coming home without. We had to steal.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable when I read about them. I haven't seen them play, but I'd like to. So
they're well coached. They're coached by Earl.
Right, Earl Morris.
Earl Morris, and you know what I mean. They're well coached and they're smart, and they call the right shot. You know, when it's 3/4 buried, they don't hesitate. They play the right stakeout. They make it. You know what I mean.
Right.
They play smart, and they're really good. You know, when you're young, sometimes you're afraid of nothing. So we saw them last weekend. They just came and watched the Parliament Cup most of the weekend. They were ousted out of a spiel, they said, so they came and watched games, and you know they just love the girls. So.
Huh. Well, that's good to hear.
They're going to be awesome.
I mean, they sound awesome already. It's rare to find 4 kids so similar in age that want to commit that much time too. So.
Oh, you should see them. Like after the game, the 4 of them are together, and they've been together for 4 years. And you know, as long as boyfriends and stuff like that doesn't come and interfere with that team, they should be. You know, they should win a Canadian for sure.
Right. Okay, last segment I do a rapid fire segment here. I give you a topic and you give me your thoughts in 3 words or less. Most underrated team on tour?
Wow. Bomer.
Best WCT event ever?
Any of the Grand Slams.
Purple Heart or 2 Grand Slam wins?
2 Grand Slam wins.
Battle of the Sexes skins game?
I wish I was a men's team.
Teflon or steel?
Teflon.
All right, man, that's it. Hey, you have any sponsors you want to mention?
Yeah, well, Performance Brush.
Right, that's what I figured.
I don't know if you noticed, but ever since we played in Grand Slams 3 years ago, when we got in the Slams, there were 16 teams, and we were the only one playing with them. And at the end of the second year, there was like 13 of the 16 teams.
Right.
So it was great, and Martin took over the company from his dad. So you know, they're doing really well, and I'm really happy. And you know, Andre, you know, pretty innovative to invent the brush and everything, and to see how it grown. Like it's incredible the numbers they get now.
Well, Andre was always tinkering with the game, wasn't he? He's always interesting to listen to him talk.
Exactly, he's a great teacher, and he's great. You know, he's a great coach, and and I think Martin's good enough to bring us to the Brier too this year. So I really do. So hopefully we will.
All right, Pierre, it was nice talking to you. Good luck the rest of the way in the Don Bartlett Classic.
Thanks, Dean.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
That's Pierre Charette on The Curling Show, brought to you by Local 59. Find their desks, tables, and T-shirts on the web at local59.com. Thanks for listening.